Hey there. It's another beautiful day. Let's watch some stuff.
Imagine being abducted by aliens and discovering you're pregnant. This astonishing story of Linda Cortile will leave you questioning everything. In November 1989, Linda Cortile, a resident of New York City, experienced a life-changing event. Late one night, she claimed to have been abducted by aliens from her apartment. Linda described being lifted through a window by a bright light and finding herself aboard a strange spacecraft. She encountered small gray beings who conducted various examinations on her. Weeks after the abduction, Linda began experiencing unusual symptoms. Medical tests revealed that she was pregnant. The father of the baby was unknown, and Linda became convinced that the aliens had impregnated her during the abduction. Her story gained attention when renowned UFO researcher Bud Hopkins documented her case. He revealed that Linda's encounter was witnessed by several people, including 2 security guards and a political figure who saw her being levitated into the craft. Their testimonies added credibility to her incredible claims. As Linda's pregnancy progressed, she experienced bizarre phenomena, including unexplained medical issues and vivid dreams of her unborn child. However, the pregnancy ended abruptly, with no trace of the fetus. Linda believed the aliens had returned to take the hybrid child. Linda's story has become one of the most well-documented and debated cases of alien abduction and hybridization. While skeptics argue for alternative explanations, many remain convinced of her extraordinary experience.
Apparently, there's an entire Netflix series on this called The Manhattan Alien Abduction, and I've never heard of it before. I'm going to totally have to check that out because that sounds like an incredible story. Whether it's true or not, I want to see that documentary and see what they got to say.
Have you ever wondered if the moon landings held secrets far beyond we could ever imagine? And that the people that actually went to the moon held a massive mysterious past? There's a crazy theory circulating the internet that the 3 men that went to the moon might have had a massive history before that. Some even circulating that they actually came from behind prison walls. This is Alcatraz jail, and I know it's a stretch, but sometimes the unusual makes you think twice about our reality. What if their similarity in features is a little bit more than just a coincidence? Check this out. Before we go any further, obviously this is just for entertainment. On this channel, we like to speculate around some crazy ideologies that aren't actually backed up by any proof. So don't take it to heart, and let's just take in this big similarity towards 3 people that broke out of Alcatraz jail and 3 people that stepped on the moon in 1969. But once again, I just like to explore these theories, but nothing is actually proven. But it does get you thinking, doesn't it?
Now, I don't hate that theory. I actually kind of dig it because there is a lot of likeness to those fellas, right? And why not just pluck a few inmates out of Alcatraz and send them up to the moon? Give them new identities, tell them they have to follow this and they'll be free, I guess? Follow the narrative. I don't know. That's a pretty cool theory. Like I said, I don't hate it.
So a spy or an assassin that doesn't know that he is a spy or an assassin is the ultimate spy or an assassin, because he can then be questioned or asked a million times, and because he is not aware that he is that, he becomes the ultimate, he becomes ultimately hidden. So after the Second World War, the scientists had refined the technique of how it should be done. So what they did was, in these amnesiac barriers, they then can place triggers, symbols, colors, hand symbols, sounds, to then access the particular altar that has been created through the trauma. You could theoretically create an assassin or a spy or a you could or an actor or a musician within these and within the altars, and the person who went whilst in the altar would have no idea that they were anything else but that. Didn't in fact begin then. They were doing this 5,000 years ago, and it's detailed in the Egyptian Book of the Dead.
Okay, get this. Or they can turn them into astronauts. Right? What if they did? Okay, that's interesting. Now, I totally believe that that is a possibility, that they could do traumatic things to the brain and turn you into some kind of a Manchurian Candidate, which was a fantastic movie, by the way. Lovely of Schreiber. But that is just, oh my goodness, a world of possibilities. What if they did do that? It's interesting how I throw these into sequence and they just come up and they go together like that. I love it. I love when that happens. But yeah, maybe. Just maybe.
I also have end of the world theory.
What happened?
The CNN founder,
Yeah.
a long time ago when CNN was in its early stages, he said, I want you to make a tape that we will play at when the world is gonna end.
Oh, they have one of those?
Yeah. So it's on YouTube. Everyone can search it up. So
It's already out.
no, like it got leaked.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
So what it is, it's a band playing in front of the White House. It's a Christian hymn.
So the moment the world ends, they're gonna play that shit live stream everywhere.
Yeah. So it's the Christian hymn is called "Nearer, My God, to Thee," and it's the exact song that was playing when the Titanic was sinking.
Oh, really?
So they got the band, they put it in front of the White House, and they started playing it.
Yeah.
The guy was recording it. Boom, they gave it to the founder. So when the world is supposed to end, CNN is supposed to broadcast it live. Like they're gonna show it on the news. Boom, the headlines go up. But you'll know when it ends because that tape will play the day of, they say.
Oh my god.
And
So
you'll hear that hymn everywhere.
Oh, that's dark.
And then boom.
Because it's like you already know the end is coming and you're just setting the tone. You're literally setting the tone.
I feel like a lot of media, stations, broadcast stations would have something like that in the bag just in case there is an event like that. Because if there is something coming and they know it, I mean, the last thing they want to do is have somebody away from their family televising, hey, by the way, we're all going to go. But yeah, it doesn't surprise me if it is fact. And yeah, why not have some kind of tape you can just be like, roll it, because we're out. What are they thinking? Like everybody's going to be glued to their TV watching to see what's taking us out? Are they looking for ratings at that time? That's neither here nor there, but still.
In 1960, two explorers embarked on a daring mission to descend to the bottom of the Mariana Trench, the deepest point in the ocean, aboard an experimental submarine. Scientists at the time were convinced that at a depth of 36,000 feet, under such crushing pressure, no life could possibly exist. However, the explorers were determined to challenge this belief. The descent was slow and exhausting. After 5 hours of immersion, with only the hum of the submarine's equipment breaking the silence, the men were startled by strange knocking sounds against the hull of their vessel. Intrigued and slightly alarmed, they turned their attention to the monitoring screen. What they saw froze them in fear, a gigantic shadow with 3 heads moving stealthily through the depths. When they tried to report the incident to the surface team, their warnings were dismissed. The team attributed their descriptions to possible hallucinations caused by extreme stress and overwhelming pressure. However, the most unsettling discovery came after their return to the surface. The submarine, designed to withstand the harshest conditions, showed severe damage to its 5-inch thick walls. Deep scratches and deformations hinted at an attack by a colossal creature. Although most of the crew denied witnessing anything unusual, the two explorers were certain they had encountered a mythical creature, the Leviathan, a legendary beast mentioned in ancient maritime tales. This experience left an indelible mark on them, and while their account was dismissed by many, others saw it as further evidence that the ocean hides secrets we have yet to uncover.
No, that didn't happen. There was no scratches on the frickin' thing, and no, I don't think they found the Leviathan. While I believe that there is all kinds of crazy stuff inside of the ocean, I don't believe that this particular story is fact. I'm gonna give it a little bit of a... Although there is stuff in the ocean, I just don't think that that's what they saw.
We're hijacking your mindless scroll for a critical system breach. This is not a test.
They trained you to obsess over bullets, grassy knolls, impossible trajectories, to chase shadows, while reality bends quietly behind your back. JFK was never the hidden truth. JFK was the firewall, built to burn if you got too close. The system doesn't simply kill threats, it annihilates awareness. Lone shooters appearing from nowhere, whistleblowers dissolving like ghosts, evidence drowned beneath endless layers of bureaucratic oblivion. This isn't chaos, it's a program running exactly as designed. They were never covering up a murder, they were maintaining the illusion. You weren't meant to see the pattern, but once you glimpse it, it's there. The glitch that fractures the construct, the ultimate revelation, hidden in plain sight beneath endless layers of lies. This was never about a president. It's about who engineers your perception. Stay vigilant. Watch for the glitches. The construct is operational.
It's all just one big dog and pony show, isn't it? It's all smoke and mirrors because they already know what they want you to do, how they want you to react. It's like everything is controlled, whether you know it or not. And they decide what outcome they want and what steps they need society to take in order to reach this outcome. And to do so, they install the antagonist as well as the protagonist. They're all installed in order to reach this great plan, their final end result. And we're all just along for the ride, and it's just a show in order to keep them in control. God, I sound really crazy, don't I?
Time that John D. Rockefeller seized U.S. media, he also hijacked U.S. medicine. When it was discovered that drugs could be produced from petroleum, America's top oil mogul ordered his army of propagandists to invert reality accordingly. Medicines used for thousands of years were suddenly classified as alternative, while the new, petroleum-based, highly addictive, and patentable drugs were declared the gold standard. After buying a German pharmaceutical company that manufactured chemicals of war for Adolf Hitler, Rockefeller leveraged his political influence by pressing Congress to declare natural healing modalities unscientific quackery. Rockefeller then took control of the American Medical Association and began offering massive grants to top medical schools under the mandate that only his approved curriculum be taught. Any mention of the healing powers of herbs, plants, and diet was erased from most medical textbooks. Doctors and professors who objected to Rockefeller's plan were crucified by the media, removed from the AMA, and stripped of their license to teach and practice medicine. Those who dared to speak out were arrested and jailed. When evidence began to emerge that petroleum-based medicines were causing cancer, Mr. Rockefeller founded the American Cancer Society, through which he suppressed that information. John D. Rockefeller is duly credited as the founder of the pharmaceutical industry, and the reason that medical error is currently the third leading cause of death in America. This is not an indictment against doctors. More than anyone, they are under the stranglehold of the single largest lobbying power in Washington. Every year, the pharmaceutical industry spends at least twice the amount as big oil to influence laws, policies, and public perception. Thanks to Mr. Rockefeller, the architect of American monopolies, no industry has more power over our lives than Big Pharma.
I didn't know that. I mean, I do know who Rockefeller is, and I know that he was a huge oil tycoon, and he did everything that he could to keep himself in the money and the whole school thing and all that, but I didn't know that he started the American Cancer Society because his product was causing cancer. Now, I know that there are specific instances where there are corporations that cause an incident and then they create a foundation in order to help those people that are suffering from this particular thing that they created, even though they're siphoning tons of that money to themselves, which is how it works. But for the life of me, my brain is not doing the brain things and I am drawing a huge blank. So if you can think of another specific instance where that had happened, please let me know in the comments down below. Speaking of comments, Thank you so much for the constructive criticism. I am learning all the time. I'm trying to do different things to make this channel better. And if there's any suggestions that you have on what you'd like to see if we can try it to grow our community and just improve the overall everything of this channel, please let me know. I'm always open to suggestions and give things a try because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm watching TikTok videos. I'm telling you what I think about them, and I don't know. I really don't know, but I'm having a good time, and hopefully you are too. But let me know. Thanks for letting me ramble.
These guys are so neat. Look at them climb up into my little hand. Hey.
That biological bucket helmet's gonna sting you, dude. Put that down. Have you seen the stingers on these things? Alright, I'm bluffing. That's not a stinger. He don't hurt anybody. In fact, they save thousands of human lives every single year. That butt barb is called a telsin, and it's actually his tail. He doesn't sting anybody. It's used to flip himself over. These sea cereal bowls aren't crabs at all. They're actually more closely related to scorpions and spiders. They're arthropods. And get this, these old bags are the only animal that are older than your grandma. These knockoff crabs are the only living animal today that relates back to a species that first appeared 450 million years ago. Or the fancy rock you see at every museum gift shop, the trilobite. These ancient hubcaps have bodies that are out of a horror movie. These biological bicycle helmets have 9 eyes, a stomach where their abdomen's supposed to be, and they can swim. It's no surprise to me that they swim upside down, being that they're from a time where animals were still figuring out how to animal. What you eat going straight to your stomach taken too literally, these sea spiders have a mouth where their abdomen should be. You heard me right, this beach beetle has 9 eyes. Compound eyes for seeing normally, a median eye for detecting visible and ultraviolet light. And if the eyes on the underside of their body aren't the weirdest part, they also have photoreceptors all over their tail. Horseshoe crabs really went for quantity over quality. They have 9 eyes and they can see, well, terribly. However, the rods in their eyes are 100 times the size of ours and larger than any other animal in the animal kingdom. Turns out it doesn't fucking matter. Horseshoe crabs ironically breed like horses, laying up to 120,000 eggs at a time, and it's actually tied to the moon. Their mating pattern backs up to the lunar and tidal cycles. Before I mention these blue-blooded beasts save thousands of people per year. These prehistoric power drinks have blue Gatorade blood. It's blue. Costing up to $60,000 per gallon, this crustaceous cocktail is the most expensive blood on the entire planet. That's because they use it for sterilizing medical equipment. So no, they can't hurt you, but they're kinda weird.
Okay, I was going to cut that out because I found something else that was a little more scientific, but that explanation was absolutely fantastic and I enjoyed it too much to not share it with everybody. But let's take a look at this other clip because it explains a little more about the medical properties of this blue blood.
These crabs are being sucked dry of their blue blood for medicine. Horseshoe crab's bright blue blood has a really valuable trait. It clots when it comes into contact with some types of bacteria. This has led to the blood becoming widely used in medicine, as many major news organizations have reported. In fact, 80 million tests containing the blood are performed annually to make sure that vaccines, drugs, and devices are sterile before going into a human body. This has made their blood very sought after and expensive, as reporting in Insider shows. Hundreds of thousands of crabs are captured and bled every year, and while some companies say they only drain roughly 25% of the prehistoric creature's blood and then put them back into the wild, regulations around the crab's welfare are minimal and there's no transparency. Wild horseshoe crab numbers are decreasing, which impacts the birds and other species that depend on them for food. But there is another option. Scientists have created a synthetic alternative that's already been approved in Europe. It just hasn't been approved in the US yet.
Science is pretty cool. Makes me want to see that whole process of how they got to this particular animal's blood does this stuff. Like, were they trying? Obviously, they were trying all kinds of crazy things, and that's how they got there. That's how science is done. But that's super cool. But it sucks seeing those poor freaking horseshoe crabs sitting in the little thing while they're being drained of their blood. Well, they're not drained of their entire blood, just 25%, like they say. But if there's a substitute, a synthetic alternative that does the same thing, you know, hopefully we'll get it through our brains so that we could use that instead and save these guys because they're so old. All right, I found a new story to check out. It's an abduction story and I'm super excited about it. So without further ado, part 1.
October the 11th of 1973.
Yeah.
Can you take us back and kind of explain?
Yeah. Well, in October, I was working at a small shipyard in Pascagoula, and Calvin Parker was working for me, a shipbuilder. And sometime during the day, we decided to go fishing that evening, which I'd done many times after work. So when we got to the river, the Pascagoula River, it began to get late and the fish weren't biting. So we were going to try one more place up by the old Shawpita shipyard. That's where this thing happened at. And we were sitting there in a pier fishing out into the river. And I think maybe I was reeling in. I don't remember now. But I heard some hissing sound behind me. And I raised up all, we were sitting down on the pier. I stood up and looked around. And there was something back there. It was hovered about that far from the ground. It's probably 40 foot long. I don't know whether it was round or whether it was oblong because the way I was looking at it. But I know up toward what I'm assuming to be the front, there was something like two lights, pulsating lights, or they were blue. And it really frightened me. I didn't know what the heck it was, you know. And by this time, Calvin, he had got up on his feet, and we just instantly, there was a door appeared at that craft, and a brilliant light come outside of it to where we were. And there were three things came through that doorway. Turn that book over on the back, and you'll see what they look like. That's primarily what they look like. Yeah, they were very wrinkled, and I didn't see any eyes. And I know now, I didn't know then, I know now they were robots. But anyhow, they came around to the side of me, and one took hold of this shoulder, and I felt pain in it, just instantly pain. Another one took hold of this shoulder, and I just went limp. And they wasn't touching the ground. Now, that light was off the ground, and they were just gliding out to where I was.
Levitating?
Levitating. And I seemed to just, when they took hold of me, I just raised up to the height they were. And we was in that beam of light, and they was taking me toward the ship, and I noticed Calvin at this time, and when one took a hold of him, he fainted. I didn't know if him, he spat out for fear. And he don't know where he went aboard the craft or not, and I don't know. But I'm assuming he did.
What? They were robots? That's incredible. Okay, I cannot wait for the next part of the story. We're gonna have to wait until Friday. I'm not peeking ahead. I'm just as excited as I possibly can because I love a good alien abduction story. On that note, I'm calling it for today. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me. Please come on back in a couple of days. We're gonna watch some new stuff. I'll say different things, and it's gonna be fantastic. Until then, have a wonderful day.